Hello and welcome to the Flatchat Roundtable Podcast with special guest Jarrad Filsel and Simspeed secret agent man Scott Fonty-Fountain.
This is V8 Scops.
The Flatchat Podcast V8 Scots edition. The Flatchat Podcast V8 Scots edition.
2019!
Well, whilst the weather is scorching, so is the news of last season's championship winner Jarrad Filsel big lobbing it right out of TTR. As we found out today, Jarrad, mate, big news, mate. Where'd this come from? Has this been around for a while, or?
Yes. Publicly? No, obviously. No, probably, I don't know, maybe two weeks or so. It's been in the background, so fairly fresh, if that makes sense.
Yeah, mate, Jarrad, we haven't spoken to you since last year, so first of all, congratulations on winning last year's championship, mate. That's fantastic. I'm pretty sure we all saw it coming. But most of your rivals, apart from Ethan Grigalt from ERT, most of your rivalry came from inside the team you're with. So, is maybe that's part of the reason of moving on, trying to find some greener pastures of your own making, maybe? Plenty of speculation out there. Do you care to shed some light on maybe some of the questions they're asking about 2018's Scops champion?
Yeah, there seems to be a little bit of mischief and rumours per se going around. But no, there's definitely been a rivalry in TTR between myself and Madison. All amicably, nothing personal or against one another. It's always good fun, always has been. Never, I think the only time we hit on track was the 2016 finale. I think that's the only time we've ever traded paint. So it's been incredibly close battling with Madison and whatnot, and obviously last year with Jake, he stepped it up definitely and was just proving to everyone that he can take it to the best, and he's definitely worthy of notching up a few more wins, hopefully, this season.
Well, what are your plans this season? That's the big question. I think a lot of people, I've been getting messages ever since the post went out, to be honest. What are your plans for next season? Obviously, we've seen three of the big drivers from TTR leave in Luke Harvey, Jake Burton, and yourself, Jarrad. But what are your plans next season? There's been some pretty big new competitions that have been released by iRacing. Maybe you're going to be getting involved in some of those?
Yeah, definitely. The Porsche Professional Series, the Pro Series, is definitely one that's on my radar, given I curate the data pack for it on Virtual Racing School. So currently in the third week as of the 15th of January. So looking forward to hopefully qualifying for the Pro Series and taking it to some of the best in the world there. And obviously with the massive prize pool on offer from Porsche, which is absolutely amazing. It's going to be tough juggling the two workloads. But I think I can do it.
So you've just set yourself an extra challenge, really. Like that's your main goal. We definitely got from you last time that we were talking to you that you challenge yourself and you set yourself at a very high standard. And this is just another sort of challenge for you to get up to the front of the Porsche field.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Porsche is definitely a unique car on the service that it's more or less driver and less setup involvement as per se a GT3 or a GTE car. They're nice to drive and whatnot, but realistically the setup is probably more important than driving it to a certain degree. So I think the Porsche definitely suits my style and just the raw nature of the car and really wheeling it to a certain degree. So I'm looking forward to getting amongst that and having a good lob.
That's great, mate, and good luck with the Porsche. Can I ask you though, is it maybe a little bit of like the competition factor from Scops? You Are you getting a bit bored of winning, mate? I don't you know what I mean?
I don't think anyone gets bored of winning, to be honest. The competition's there in Scops. I mean, the bar has been set so high ever since Scops was created back in 2014. I mean the official series was quite competitive, but ever since Scops has come along with the pre-qualifying, you're guaranteed to get the 40 fastest drivers out there in top split vying for that position, and every year we've seen the split from P1 to P40 come down every year, so it's not quite World Championship level close, but it's definitely getting closer and closer. So I mean, then take no disrespect away from the guys that put a lot of hours in and do a lot of setup work on their cars to make the race. They're doing a bloody bang up job.
Hey mate, we've got Scott here. Scott Fountain, welcome to the show, Scott.
Hey, Scotty.
Thank you very much, guys. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Look, so Jarrad's gone through the move from, say, well, it's not really a move, or maybe a move team-wise, obviously. Still a little bit foggy and cloudy on that. It's like trying to find out what Ethan Griggolt won at the Aussie Driver Search last week. We can't really work it out. So we'll leave it all up to the mystery and speculation that it makes it so exciting. We'll find out where Jarrad's going to go this year, soon enough, I guess. But mate, Scott, what do you make of this as the owner, let's say CEO, the big power broker of
No, he's the secret agent man
Simspeed.
of Simspeed. That's what he is. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
The Ethan Hunt, the Mission Impossible. What do you make about this? We've got so many crazy conflicting factors going around in our particular community, such as you've got a really big championship going on with the Porsche. Porsche has backed that internationally. Many people in the iRacing worldwide community consider Scops to be probably one of the best series in the world.
Yeah.
But VRS sponsors TTR, and I know that we saw you, Jarrad, post something up about their new line of actual real-world sim gear.
Yep.
What do you make of this, Scott? Like, there's so many things going on in the world of iRacing and sim racing at this particular time at the beginning of 2019. Can you make sense of anything that's going on at the moment?
Yeah, look, sim racing is certainly going in the right direction of following the other esports, and esports is the way of the future, really. Like you look at how all the other sort of platforms are going outside of sort of motorsport, and I've seen a big change. Been involved in iRacing for 8 years now, and from when I started to now, things have certainly come a long way, and I feel the iRacing brand do a fantastic job on when they do something, they do it right, and they release it right, and there's no issues. And the competition's on iRacing, and I remember back in 2011 when I first started, and seeing the stuff on the broadcast, and it was pretty amazing, and then jumped in, and that was a big thing for me, was to get on the broadcast and be part of that. And that's really my biggest focus, is to push this forward. And we've got plenty of great brands on board. It's absolutely amazing to have Virtual Racing School. Peter at Virtual Racing School is an absolute legend when it comes to what he wants and what he's trying to achieve, and I feel that he brought his Virtual Racing School brand to the market very well and did it very well. And he employs the likes of Jarrad to teach people how to drive and do setups, and whoever would have thought, I would have never thought that when I first started that would have been sort of an option, and he's done it very well. So yeah, we're certainly very pleased to have him on board with V8 Scops, and he came on board last year, and I certainly put a lot of effort between myself and Jay. I worked out that V8 Scops took 550 hours of our time between us both over the season last year, which was not really paid, but it's not about that. I was kind of in a fortunate position where I was sitting in Europe cruising around in my camper van. I like to keep myself busy, so that's the main focus for me, really. I feel that V8 Scops is going in such the right direction. That is the biggest series from the New Zealand Australia side of things, and to be taking it to a world stage is absolutely fantastic. And we've got great drivers. Jarrad's there. I'd like Jarrad to slow down. I made a rule at the end of last year when he won his third championship that he was only allowed 75% throttle next year. So maybe that's the reason why he's pulling out. What do you reckon, Jarrad?
That's why he's getting dodgy new gear. No, I'm joking. It's
Yeah.
not dodgy. It's going to be the best.
It is. That's exactly
Dodgy
right.
gear.
Well, they're all
That's
in
exactly right. Yes.
beta, so they could fail. But
Wow.
I'm not gonna like jinx myself here. I hope it doesn't.
No, it won't. It's going to be a very good product. I can tell you that. Peter brought the virtual racing school to us, and that certainly didn't fail. And I know that nothing will be released until it is absolutely perfect. And for everybody tuning in and listening tonight, if you are going to get a direct drive wheel, it is well worth waiting for because it will be very, very good. So
Yeah, well, I'll tell you now, if you're talking about VRS and how successful it was, I mean, I reckon that without VRS, I'd probably still be a backmarker in the second split of development series.
yeah,
good
no,
work.
it is, and it's you've got guys coming into sim racing. It is, although you drive a car on the road or you've had some experience in a real race car, it is a lot different to driving on the sim. And if anything, I would think that it takes more concentration and it is more demanding than driving a real car. I'd get off and covered from head to toe in sweat, and you're absolutely knackered by the end of it. Not saying that you're not in a real race car, but and I think that's where a lot of racers who are on the sim regularly and are on iRacing, are doing so well is because you've got the competition is so high in iRacing, and you look at V8 Scops, the competition that we've got there, it's absolutely fantastic. And if you're racing in real life and you're doing V8 Scops, and that's why I feel that we've had 2 sim racers win the Aussie Driver Search the last 2 years, and we've obviously announced recently that deal between ourselves, Simspeed, and the Aussie Driver Search for the Monday night official series, which is a fantastic thing for sim racing for any driver,
Absolutely.
kind of wanting to make that step into the real world of motorsport. It's gives an opportunity for someone who maybe doesn't have the funding to be able to go do it himself. Motorsport is very expensive, and if you can do well enough to get yourself a scholarship, well, there's your foot in the door to have a bright future.
Well, we've obviously had a lot of success with that within the iRacing community, with Madison Down, Ethan Grigalt, and Jake Burton, obviously getting drives from the Aussie Driver Search competitions. Hey, Jarrad, I've got to ask you, mate, have you ever given it a shot?
No, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know. Like
We've spoken about this in the past, really, haven't we, Jarrad, about you wanting to go racing, real racing? It's not really on your
it's
focus list?
not really on my horizon. I mean, it'd be good fun. Don't get me wrong. Everyone wants to have a bit of fun, but
Mate, the future's
I
in
don't
sim
really-
racing anyway. You heard it here first, everybody.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It doesn't. I'm not. It's hard to explain. I'm not really wired that way that I want to go and crash a car because it's fun.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose you when you first came on last time, you did mention that you started with Call of Duty with so you had a gaming background as opposed to a racing background. Would that play a part?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Call of Duty was fun.
Still is, mate.
Very competitive. Oh, I'd say not. It's not fun anymore. It's quite shit.
I think the thing is for, motorsport's expensive and it takes a lot of commitment and time. If, I've raced previously in my early ages and, when I had left school and went racing myself, and, you got a full-time job and you're trying to run a race car at the same time during the on-season, it's a full-time job for that as well. So you're literally working full-time job and, if you're not earning huge money, well, you may as well dig a hole in the back lawn and go and bury your money because, that's what motorsport is. We love to do it, but it is expensive at the same time. And you get a lot of young kids who can't afford to do it and then, put themselves potentially financially in trouble.
Bit of a money pit with no return on investment. So that's kind of or a business or a...
That's why you go sim racing and you have lots of fun. And at the end of the night, you turn your computer off and then you worry about it all the next day.
Yeah, reset.
Well, but then you go and attack Jay Kennedy for making it impossible to put unsanctioned livery sponsorships on the car, and then it starts to turn into something like the crazy world of real world motorsport. By the way, Jay will be on in a few in a bit. He's going to come on. He's just running late for this particular show to talk all about that and answer the questions regarding all of the conjecture and I guess the conspiracies regarding the whole paint thing. But Fonzie, I know you don't really want to touch on that too much, mate.
Look, I don't mind having a brief little saying my piece about it. I think that iRacing, the paint policy, it has been in play for the last few years now. It hasn't really been, pushed on by iRacing themselves, but with where iRacing want to take their product as a whole, and with the iRacing Esports Network, which we're part of, you've got the internet is a big bad world, and when you've got the freedom of what sim racers do and what we do, and you can put anything on your car, so anybody can go and make a mockery of themselves and have a big brand on the side, and soon enough we all know how viral things can get very quickly. And if it's a company which is well known in the public, and then puts potentially a bit of bad light on them, well, it creates a bit of an issue for iRacing and for us as well as broadcasters. So it's about doing the right thing, and it is such a professional sport now that is sim racing, and so we've got to move with the times and put the steps in place that it kind of is for the longevity of the sport, really. I know it's really hard for people to understand and kind of get over the fact of, you can't run, the guy with the motor mower shop on the corner's livery without getting his permission, but we can't have a rule for one and a rule for another. So, I think once things kind of get into the swing of things and everybody understands and the process is made easy for everybody to do it, I don't think we're going to have any issues moving forward.
It's just about getting everyone to kind of follow the process that may seem tedious at first, but as long as it just gets done. Because what you don't want to happen is cars running around that have fantastic painted liveries. There are quite a few guys out there that run these, I guess you call livery businesses. They do really good work. And for one thing I saw, which is interesting, was that today, or when this comes out, it's going to be a couple of days ago, iRacing revealed one of their kind of teaser videos for the Porsche series that you're racing in, Jarrad, and quite a few of those cars were stripped of the livery. I'm not sure if that was because of this particular policy or if that's how the cars were. I wasn't on track. I didn't see them, but there were like probably 1 in 5 cars had a livery on them and the other ones are stripped. So is that what it's going to come down to, Scott, if you don't get these things in place? Are we going to see the wonderful paint jobs that people get done on their teams just looking blank? You're going to have to take it off if you don't get permission?
Look, we will improve the process. We've introduced our Simspeed member zone, which will be a whole user interface. That's just the start of where that product's going to. So, once we kind of, introduce and make things a little bit easier for people, it will become simple. I think that, there will be a lot more kind of sponsors being advertised through the iRacing paint kind of booth as such, where you can, custom paint your car online rather than, doing it all yourself with your own sponsors. I think that will expand and give people variety. But, if you're wanting to advertise a company, it generally has a kind of a personal attachment to you as such, or the team that you're running for, and it's just about the team managers putting these things in play and getting that permission. And, as long as there's a letter from the company who you're advertising for saying that you have permission, well, that's all that we need,
So, Chris, does that mean you're going to be looking for a sponsorship deal with the Armco Barriers because you and them have quite a strong relationship?
Wow.
On broadcast?
Wow.
There we go. He's throwing it out there already.
I'm getting a sponsorship from Race Spot.
There we go.
Really?
Absolutely. Hey, those guys do a fantastic job over there.
I'm joking around.
And we can't thank them enough. We work close with with the other 3 broadcasters on the iRacing Esports Network, and I was fortunate enough to go to the Sim Racing Expo in Germany in September, which was a bit of an eye-opener for me, and seeing those guys and basically being with iRacing, the top guys at iRacing, which was really important for us to go there to kind of stamp our ground on the world and let them know that the AusNZ community, we won't be left behind, and we always want to improve our product. So lots of cool things happening for iRacing for us.
I was going to say the reason why RaceSpot was on my mind was because they also have released very similar terms, I suppose, for the paints that we were just talking about, where they need written permission, etc., etc. And so it's good to see that there's, I suppose, everyone, all of the major sort of broadcasters out there are sort of sticking together, and and they're all going at it at once instead of just one series doing it at a time, which is a positive thing.
Yeah, well, what it was is that we had a meeting with iRacing in August, and they basically spelled this out and said that because we were the broadcasters as such, and they didn't have any control over what was going on, and we do, and because there is so many different series that are broadcasted on the iRacing Esports Network and put out there, that it was up to, if any inquiries were made to iRacing, it would be put directly onto us, which Simspeed doesn't have financial assistance in the bank account to be able to go up in a court case against the likes of Coca-Cola or a brand like that, and we would be down the gurgle very quickly. So it's about kind of stamping that out and making sure everyone is on the same page and sticks to the same rules, which once, like I said before, once everyone's in the swing of things, people don't like change. So once everyone's in the swing of things, I think we'll see it just be seamless, and we'll have always questions and inquiries, and since we've introduced it, it has taken a lot more time for myself and Jay to be able to go through and check everyone's liveries, but we'll improve that process and absolutely nail it, and nobody will know any different in a year's time.
You know what I'd do is I'd get, if any of those team owners out there, if you want to be sneaky, just bear in mind that Jay and Scott have to look through and see that you've done the right thing. So why not every round just keep updating your car with different sponsors just to see.
There we go. Well, I can tell you right now, I've just looked at the stats. We released that, it was on the 1st of January, so 16 days ago. In that 16 days, we have had 715 liveries uploaded. So
what?
Yes, 715 liveries have been uploaded.
300 of which came from Stephen Lattimore.
Yeah, that's right.
There we go.
Grip graphics. But speaking of sponsors and trying to get written permission for specific sponsors, probably in my mind, one of the strongest sponsor/driver pairings that is on the V8 Sculpts grid as a usual spotting is the Harrop company with you, Jarrad. When you're moving to wherever you're moving, to the mystery land that is 2019 for you, are you taking that sponsorship with you? Because it's been such a synonymous pairing, seeing you with that white Harrop car as opposed to, say, Madison's car, etc. Because you got you running it, Muggleton, Sam Blacklock, who's absolutely storming through, growing ever so fast every round last year. So what's happening with that livery, mate? Is that something you're taking with you into the future?
Not sure. That's still yet to be decided and worked out. But obviously, it would be nice to keep the tradition, if you want to call it that, and run the Harrop image as I've run it for the last 2 years. So it's just a matter of time before we work something out, and whatever happens, I guess. We'll find out.
I've heard you're making an ANZ return, Jarrad. I heard ANZ's coming back, and it's going back to the old school days, mate. That's what I've heard.
I think Clayton Brooks took a lot of time off because he was building his house. I'm not sure if it's still being built or not, but it's about time he makes a comeback, I think.
No, that finished about 4 years ago, I reckon, and he's just hasn't been around. Actually, he popped his head up not so long ago. It was good to have a chat with him again. If you don't know Clayton Brooks, he is he's a character. Was the manager of ANZ, and ANZ is kind of, it's just temporarily closed its doors. I'm sure it will come back at some point. I heard next year because Jarrad's going to reopen it again, but we'll just wait and see on that one.
I was going to say, JC, when it comes to Jarrad's sponsors, I don't think he's had much time. He's only been booted from the team today.
Oh, he's been. Oh, did you, that's very specific wording, Chris. Jarrad, you've been booted from the team. That's what I just
okay. Maybe not. I don't know. It's just speculation. Just throwing it out there.
So I can just imagine Madison just get out, never come back.
I do not, and I cannot imagine
I
that.
can never imagine that.
Right? Exactly.
Well, he did it to 3 people today, so
Yeah. Well, it is an interesting thing. I mean, I'm sure we're all pretty surprised.
I was definitely surprised. I mean, look, people change teams. There's always, like there is in real V8s, like Gartander just lost his seat at JRM, as I'm sure most of you know.
I was shocked about that.
Yeah, everyone was shocked at that. Richie Stanaway over at GRM this year. That's crazy. But, like, the same thing, silly season happens in Scops as well. It's funny like that. Like, I mean, not just one. There was also Luke Harvey and Jake Burton. They've gone separate ways from TTR as well. And, we've seen a ton of drivers being signed all over. The TTL have got the checkbook out, and so have ERT, signing all these people left, right, and centres. But you just got to think, like, how much of a business, and Fonty, you're big on this, like how much of a business this iRacing platform is becoming, and positive signs. A lot of these teams have got big sponsors, and and they've and they're getting bigger every year. Like you see ERT last year with Sim Cafe. Oh, sorry. Sim Cafe, Speed Cafe. But Fonty, like the growth of the business, mate, the growth of Simspeed, the growth of the iRacing platform altogether, mate, it's been massive. And, you've been a big part of that, and that's really cool. But, like, what do you think? Have you got a vision for the next 12 to 18 months, thereabouts? Any other, insight as to what we're going to see over that period of time?
World domination.
Okay, that's pretty good.
I just answered for Fonty.
That's pretty good.
Throwing it out there. No, look, yeah, I certainly, work very hard on this stuff, and there is a big future for it, and it's kind of, there are some teams that are doing an absolute fantastic job out there and can see where this is going, and I can't stress enough to teams out there that the effort needs to be put in, because it's all about every team working together. And at the end of the day, from where V8 Scop started to now, it's jumped massively in that time. And you guys will see that this year, the level from us as the administrators and organisers is going to be turned up, and things will be noticed by the people out in the public a lot more. And that is kind of the step that sim racing is going in general. It's about humanizing the sport and bringing, the faces of the drivers out there. And we can only do that with the cooperation of the teams, but we're certainly putting in, new steps, new things in place to make it easier for teams and for everybody to communicate and, just have the platform there. So, it's a busy time for myself. I, left my job to focus on this. We certainly don't earn enough money to pay, anybody a living wage, but, I certainly focus on, the future and what lies ahead, and going to Germany and meeting with the guys from iRacing certainly, gave me, that insight to be able to, push even more. And every day I want to wake up and, and improve what we can do on our end of the world. And I think V8 Scops will certainly be right amongst the top this year. Although we don't have the prize money of what Porsche is putting out there, we certainly have a lot more of an advertising budget, which is going to, push out content and, promote drivers and give everyone a lot of exposure for sponsors, which is what it's all about at the end of the day.
Mate, can I just jump in there? And I completely hear everything you're saying. And I know that, we talk about this stuff, Scott, as far as I think it's pretty well known between, the people who are working on this stuff in the background, obviously like yourself and Jay and numerous other people at Simspeed. This is like a cultural evolution between a small group of people, which is taking something that was a video game, essentially, very highly competitive video game at that, but really expanding it into just
a sim.
Hoping to get it to... It's a sim, sorry. I do think it's still a video game because I play it through a LED TV and it looks like crap. Jarrad's probably vomiting right now when I said LED TV. But going back to what I was saying, it really is like a step up for the development of a particular esport. And I think that we're all excited. Everyone who knows how much work you guys are putting in. If anyone doesn't know how much work you guys do, it's really extraordinary how much you literally gave up your job to take this and pursue this as it's not just a business to you. It's not just definitely not a hobby. It's more like a declaration that you will make this succeed, and you have done that over the last 4 to 5 years. It expanded to a point where it is at the moment, and it's the only way is to go up. So I do hope that everything travels smoothly, because it is always on a constant trajectory up. And to see something like the Porsche Series though, with such a big purse, that hopefully, Jarrad, you nail that this year, mate, and grab the big bucks. But,
it is
exciting.
do, mate. You just come and feed me a little bit, Jarrad, while you're there, mate.
The old ANZ payments.
A little bit of the prize money, mate. We've been friends long enough.
That's the plan, at least.
That's the plan.
It's quite
and that's exactly right.
It's a very big prize.
It's such a big jump. It is huge. Last year I think it was
15, maybe.
I think the total prize pool of what iRacing put out there between the World Championship and the NASCAR was, I think maybe 30,000 between the two. And now this year there's 300 grand up for grabs across many different series. So, that just shows, the effort that they're putting in and can see the future. And, it's amazing to see where sim racing has come from and the future that it holds. And I personally feel that it is the future of motorsport as we know it.
And I think that brings me back to the question before, when I was asking Jarrad about whether he wanted to do the Aussie driver search, the real life sort of stuff. But it's clear that you're very, very passionate about sim racing, and that's awesome. Definitely one of the reasons why you are on it so much, and why you have taken out 3 Scops championships, and that's if there's more people who take the same goal as you, and like you have a similar vision from what it sounds like to Fonty and myself, JC, about the future of sim racing, Jarrad. Have you got what about yourself, mate? What do you think about the future of sim racing?
I definitely think it's on the up, definitely. It's just, I think if I just put it into perspective a little bit, I'm not on the biggest wicket with a full-time job. So if you put it into perspective, all hypotheticals here, hypothetically speaking, it'd be a dream though. If you were to say win the World Championship Series and it's a $40,000 championship win, that's 55,000 Australian dollars. So that's 15,000 more than what I earn full-time working 8 hours a day, 38 hours a week. So to put into perspective, to juggle those two up and to choose one or the other, or God forbid both, which I'll have a crack at, chances are you might get ATO come knocking on your door at some point in time, and you just ignore them, hopefully. No, that's
just don't live in Monaco.
Can you bleep that out? Yeah,
that's a donation. Thanks, iRacing.
Yeah.
It is a donation. You just get 55 grand in iRacing credits to use it at will.
For some reason, sent to a random bank account in the Cayman Islands.
I'll just put it.
No, that's
I'll just
exactly
put it in
right,
Bitcoin.
though, Jarrad.
It's the best investment ever.
It's it is to see that vision now. It's still a while away, but that is the future, and we hope that it's up to the likes of us from V8 Scops and our end of the world to kind of promote it, and not only us but all of these other major series in the world to just have the same sort of vision and move in the right direction. And it's different from other esports, whereby it is expensive to get in and get yourself set up, and iRacing is a little bit more expensive than what other platforms out there are.
There's a reason for that, though.
But you're exactly right, and I was just going to get onto that point. It is the best, and I've driven every other one, and I get off and I'm always thinking to myself, well, that's really got nothing on iRacing, and you don't mind paying for good content, and iRacing is the best by far, and it has the best competition, and it's really just moving in the right direction. The other esports, everyone's got a computer, so all you need is for most of the others, you just need a keyboard and a mouse, and you can get yourself into into the other sort of, first person shoot 'em up sort of games. Whereas, sim racing is a little bit more of an investment, but well worth it at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think it falls into the same category. I mean, how much is it going to cost you to go and play? I don't know. I don't really follow the other esports as much, but you think about motorsport being so much dependent on funds and sponsorship, and it's almost it's not as bad in sim racing, but sim racing is still very, very expensive to get into because of the equipment that's manufactured and the benefits you get from having something that's actually quite decent.
Yeah, and if you look at the numbers though, like Fonty, you just said last year they had a prize pool of 30 grand, and this year they have a prize pool of 300 grand.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Jarrad, you just said that 40 grand. The 55K was the prize for the Porsche Cup. What's it going to be next year?
That's not the official number. That's
sorry. 40 grand American? Is it, or 30 grand American or something like that?
There's talk about 40, but I don't know the
okay, so
number.
It's going to be a lot of money, but considering the prize pools increase and what it was last year, what's it going to be next year? Like I suppose that's the way you got to think of it. Like that's like it's grown
it's only going to go up though.
Exactly.
It's all up to it's a team effort. Like not only from people like us at Simspeed and like RaceSpot and the series organisers. It's about the teams as well. Promoting themselves and producing content, because like Jarrad was saying, it is a little bit more of an expense to set up. And me and Jarrad have talked about this in the past. You can't just go and run a LAN event like sort of other first person shoot 'em up sort of esports platforms, because every sim racer is adapted to their own kind of setup and have their own sort of setup rig. So that's one challenge that we're always going to face in the future. That's why I feel the other esports have taken off a lot more, is because the initial investment for people, the individual, is a lot less. But the thing is that sim racing is, you can spend $1,000 on a setup, which is one of the sort of basic ones, but then you can go up against the guy who's got $100,000 setup, and you can still beat him. The pure example is Madison back in the day used to sit on a desk on a chair, literally just a chair and his Logitech wheel, and then with a single monitor, and he was beating me, and I'd invested 10-15 grand into my setup, and he was cleaning me up.
Yep.
So it makes it a lot more equal. Whereas in motorsport, in a real life form, you've got the team that spends $1 million versus the team that spends $500,000. That team that spends $1 million is always going to be faster than the team that spends $500,000. So for the first time in history, motorsport is now accessible to the world. Although it is a virtual form, it is so realistic and it is so competitive that, it doesn't matter what gear you've got, you can still beat the guy who's got a budget 10 times the amount as what you have.
I just wanted to give you guys a real world comparison between, say, sim racing gear and money expended compared to, say, other things like a first person shooter or something like that. I've got a setup, probably cost me about $1,000 or so, maybe $1,500 including the computer and everything. That price is pretty high compared to buying a PC to do something like Call of Duty or something, or an Xbox. But then I've also got Fortnite, and that cost me my dignity. So I'd much rather pay for the sim equipment. Guys, just before Jay comes in and to talk about and cover all that paint stuff, just one thing while you're here, Fonty, and Jarrad too, one of the big things that we talk about, Scott, is the whole humanization of this particular esport, and that's really what this year is to me. I'm sure you feel the same too, but for us with the podcast and what you guys are going to be doing with all the broadcasts and the humanization thing, what does that mean to anyone out there listening to this kind of stuff? It just means trying to get the personalities through, because we're on a platform where we see virtual race cars on a kind of simulated format. If only some of the people who watch these races could be a part of our chats online, on Facebook, on Messenger, on forums, to see the absolute filth and rubbish that gets thrown around. It's fantastic. It's the best thing in the world. And that's why actually part of it is trying to get the personalities and a bit of the the human element in it, because I reckon that Scops and this particular V8 supercar community here in our side of the world is just so much. There's so much entertainment factor going on. There's so much culture that I'm not sure that someone sitting in, say, Switzerland watching a stream could even comprehend. I think that we're trying to bring that to them, aren't we, this year?
Yeah, you're exactly right, and that's you follow sport for the people who play it. Although you may support if it's a team sport, like rugby, you follow the team, but there are individuals within that team that you follow, and you like this person and you don't like this person for that particular way, and that is sport in itself. So we are at that point of trying to do that, and there is a particular direction that needs to go for that to happen and happen the right way, and it's every small step at a time. So you nailed it absolutely right there, JC, and it's bringing the personalities and getting the likes of Jarrad's mug out there on television, and people outside of sim racing getting to know him, which is how we move this forward. And with having the likes of Porsche on board and the effort going in by iRacing themselves to, certainly up the ante and make it a lot more public is going to help us achieve that goal.
Right, and how do you feel about you getting your mug on TV, Jarrad? Does that sound like something up your alley?
I just need a haircut. Hang on. Just wait.
A haircut and a shave, I reckon.
No, I don't really mind that. Some people know, some people probably don't give a shit, that's their opinion. But so I'm quite young. I'm only how old am I? Hang on, 24.
I forget too.
No, so I'm actually building a house with my partner this year. So obviously I'm gonna have my own space for the first time ever. It's gonna be fucking amazing. Let's be honest.
Why are you laughing? Don't slap that fucking smile on the face. Give me a kiss. Hurry up.
So yeah, I'll have my own little retreat. To get away from
cave, mate. Man cave. I live in mine. Well, not really, but I pretty much.
I wouldn't really call it a man cave. I probably would like to call it a soundproof booth to get away from sources of noise.
Be careful.
That's okay.
Yeah, a new house is good, because I've been to Chris's man cave and it smells like nicotine and desperation.
So having my own little retreat slash soundproof booth will obviously open up new avenues for obviously streaming. I can just relax and do stuff. Obviously, I'm a bit mixed and matched here with obviously some space constraints of where my sim rig is. So no, I'm all up for it. I'll probably will be streaming a lot more once I get my own space and feel more comfortable in the environment that I'm in.
Now we all know the real reason why he's left TTR. He wants to compete with Emily Jones on the Twitch platform.
Nobody will ever take that from her.
I was going to say,
no.
Good luck.
I actually share a bit of a stat. The article that we put out about Emily earlier in the year on the V8 Scops website and Facebook still gets hits now every single day. That is our biggest article, was the Emily Jones article, and talking about her, and she's done fantastic for her own promotion, and she's a fantastic sim racer within herself. So anyone who has got a personality, who is great at streaming, the world's your oyster, really. And you look at some streamers getting paid massive money, and I feel that that's where certainly individuals within sim racing will get to within sort of the next 12 months, 24 months. You will see a massive rise in the promotion from us, as well as the promotion of individuals.
Yeah,
absolutely. There's a few people in the races that do it at the moment, and they're great. Like Emily, Hobbo, obviously, has a big following. Mitch McLeod, Jason Fewens, Rob Harris as well from Valkyrie. I think he's over in England. There's so many people that do it. Whether they have a big following or not, it does help to grow.
Matt Malone has a big
sport.
following. I'll tell you now, he's got the biggest following, I think, out of all iRacers. He drives a whole bunch of GT cars. I'm not exactly sure if he drives with a team or anything like that, but he's definitely one of the faces for iRacing across the Twitch platform. I tune in occasionally.
Lovely.
I think he's definitely by far the most popular iRacing streamer. I think he's just, I don't know, there's just something about him. He's just funny. I mean, Quirk's funny because he crashes and whatnot and goes off his tree, but Alone is just generally funny.
There's also who's the other guy? One of Reese's good friends, actually, Reese Gardner.
Who's Reese Gardner?
Yeah, who's that bloke?
Some guy.
I thought it was. I thought his name on the podcast. His name is Security Steve.
Racer.
No, Security Steve.
I came up with that name, by the way.
Yeah.
I'll claim that
okay.
one.
All right.
Security Steve.
Okay.
There we go.
Now, Fonty, that's my name, Fonty. Hello. Hi, Jarrad.
Oh, this
Contact!
Contact. Don't we love it? I'm just trying to think of the other person who has done very well in streaming for themselves of sim racing stuff.
Well, it wasn't Chris Kessie.
Yeah, mate.
He'll get there.
Mate, I've done maybe 3 iRacing streams, and I've had a total of maybe 7 viewers. So thank you for those 7 people. I really appreciate it.
Well, you got to start somewhere, Christopher Kessie, and it's generally at the bottom. So work your way up, mate.
Which reminds me, Chris, how's your 2019 Scops campaign coming along?
Mate,
Speaking of starting at the bottom,
I've done a total of 0 laps since the turn of the new year. Maybe even a few days. I think probably since the 18th of December. So yeah, it's going pretty well.
Well, it's coming up fairly soon. I mean, I think we all freaked out the other day that
I thought it was this month.
It was starting
I thought it was
this month. Everyone was just going, "What? Haven't we got about 1 billion things to work on before then?" But,
yes, we do. Fonty has Fonty has 1 billion more.
Yeah, that's all right though. We'll get it done, and I look forward to presenting that to the community, and it will be the way forward certainly for us. And not only V8 Scops, but it will be introduced across the other series that we do as well. And it'll be an exciting time, and certainly the right way forward for not only the series itself, the administrators of the series, but for teams and drivers to communicate and make things easier and just seamless. Really, I feel that things get lost. Although the iRacing forums are absolutely great, things get lost, and we will introduce a new way of doing things.
Yeah, nice. Well, it's going to be a really big year, that is for sure. There's no doubt about that. Thanks for joining us for this little chat. It was a great round table discussion. I think it's time to get Jay in a second to really recap, and so he can be the proverbial punching bag for all of the inquiries about the paint debacle. But, mate, before we go, mate, Jarrad, I got to say that I'm not sure if you heard or listened to, but you were the Driver of the Year in the Flatchat Scops Award, and congratulations on that. I'm sure it's 100 times more important than the actual Scops title itself, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But there is a $20 iRacing kind of gift coming to you from us, but apparently iRacing has a bit of a glitch thing at the moment where it's not allowing us to do that, so we'll have to sort that kind of stuff out too. So that same thing goes with...
we'll fix it up.
Yeah.
Fix it up. Was it 20 cents? Or?
Brett as well. 20 cents. Hey, just before you go, Jarrad, though, I'm just looking at one of these Matt Malone streams. It looks like he has a racetrack stuck on his wall in the background. May that be one of your JF race art pieces?
That's a negative. No.
Mate.
That's
made from plastic, mate. That's made from plastic.
I don't know. Maybe you might have to ask him.
Not the real thing, mate.
No, that's I think that's just another one of those companies over in America that does things a little differently, because it looks like a very thick, boy piece of wood.
So just while it's on my mind, the other streamer, Jimmy Broadbent.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Absolutely fantastic streamer. First sim racing streamer to get over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, well done to everybody who is doing a good job out there. Big shout out to Mitch McLeod, actually. He's mostly has had a few VB long necks when he gets on and has a stream. So big shout out to him.
He's just the resident MX5 racer nowadays. I think that's his go-to.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's pretty entertaining stuff, I'm not going to lie.
Shouldn't he should call his stream the happy hour stream.
All right, boys, I think we might get over to Jay. Let's get it.
The Flatchat Podcast V8 Scots Edition.
As Fonty and Jarrad leave the studio, we now have the gentleman who's going to answer all your questions about the new paint rules in V8 Scops. And the other broadcasted races this year. Jay Kennedy, mate, thanks for joining us on the Flat Chat podcast.
My pleasure, boys. It's been a little while, but good to be back.
Yeah, second time.
Yeah, mate, how's your holidays been? It's been a while, eh?
What's a holiday? Would never stop. But yeah, no, it's going to be an exciting year with what we've got going on. But yeah, the action never stops for us behind the scenes. Plenty of planning going on, and not much of a break for us, but it's going to be a good year and going to be worth it.
Oh, we'll appreciate the efforts that you guys put in day to day. I mean, Fonty was saying you guys put in 500 hours last year, and we'll definitely appreciate that, mate. And yeah, well done. You've been doing a great job. Now, the big subject. This is what everyone has joined for. The paints for this year. There are new rules. Jay, did you want to maybe roll over the basics of what we're going to see this season in Simspeed broadcasts?
Yeah, so iRacing are forcing all of the broadcasters on the iRacing Esports Network to abide to the iRacing custom paint policy, which has been in implementation for around about 10 years. So it's not a new policy. So people are saying, this is all new rules. It's not a new policy. It's been very, very strictly used in the Peak Antifreeze NASCAR Series, as well as pretty much every Indy 500. Remember, in the past, the Indy 500 was actually broadcast on the big screens at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So the rules have been there for a long time. They just haven't been enforced in anything other than those series for the main part. A couple of the other Pro Series had them very loosely enforced, but nowhere near as strictly enforced. But this year they've said that we really have to knuckle down. Simple reason being is that there's brands out there that's logos were being used on people's cars that were then going around wrecking people, and that's not how that company wants to be represented. It's not their image. It's not their car. They don't want people to use their logos unless they've asked for permission to do it. It's pretty simple.
That's an interesting point and a way to describe the particular reason why it's important. There's heaps of comments and people in the community that have asked questions about kind of questioning the validity of why it's so important. Like, why now? It's been out for a while, and if the paint policy was so important, why is it being implemented now? And other questions are hovering around that the kind of topic that we see broadcasts on, say, network television that broadcasts V8 supercars or Formula One or whatever it is, and they seem to run whatever they want, whatever's on the car. We don't see any press release or any documentation saying that the broadcasters themselves have to have permission. But I think that when you put it the way that you do, I hope that does answer a whole array of different queries about that particular way of looking at it, where it's the responsibility of, say, a team or a company that wants to sponsor a driver or a car or a series, that they have communication with those people and they make a kind of deal together, I guess. But if you've just got people sticking any logo on a car, you could go run around and be great, or you could go and crash the car and look like a complete wally. And that's kind of one of the reasons why there seems to be no control factor there for the logos that are on certain cars. There's no relationship there, it seems. If you just grab, a Castrol GTX logo off the internet and just stick it on your car, there's no relationship with the company. And that's something that seems like that's the reason behind
exactly
why it's important.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And us as a sport, sim racing as a sport, we're not just a hobby anywhere. We're past just being a game now. Where there's lots of money involved now. $300,000 for the World Championships this year in iRacing. Awesome. The Formula One esports that was on last year had 5 million views or something like that. Ridiculous, like huge numbers of people are watching sim racing, and sim racing is no longer just a hobby or just a game anymore. It is truly a sport with the amount of money that's getting thrown around and the amount of investment that's going on behind the scenes. So I think that this is going to be a good thing going forward, but we're all human and humans don't like change. So that's, I think, the biggest thing as well, is it's so different. But once we're all used to it, it's just going to be the norm. So I don't think it'll be too big an issue, and I don't think it'll impact too many people. There'll be a few people out there that have to run liveries a little bit differently, but for the most part, most of the teams and most of the drivers out there have done the right thing beforehand anyway, and always ask for permission. It's not hard to just say, hey, I want to run this logo on my car. Is that okay? 99% of companies and people will say, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, and look, it goes back to, I mean, copyright rules all over the place have been, like internationally, have completely changed in the last couple of years. You've seen someone like Twitch, YouTube, Facebook. You can't just go and play a Metallica song in the background of a stream, otherwise they'll block it. That's the way I look at it anyway, is that it's exactly the same sort of preface, is that if you're using someone else's content.
That's exactly right. You can't go and have copyrighted music. We have to be really careful on what music we include in our broadcasts for introductions and promo videos and stuff like that. We have to be really, really careful, because if we use copyrighted content, we can't actually have the content up on the broadcast at all, because it'll just get removed. So it's exactly the same. We don't own the content of those logos, and without permission, we legally shouldn't be showing those logos. And we've had some comments and people messaging us about recreational use, and it should be under the fair use because of recreational use. We're past recreational use now. This is for money. We, as the broadcaster, are registered as a business, so therefore we can't say it's for recreation because we are a legal business. So there's too much money involved behind the scenes, teams getting money, people getting money involved in sim racing for it to be seen as recreational use, and it wouldn't hold up anywhere, I don't believe.
Just on that topic, Jay, do you think maybe there's some space in the future, maybe this year sometime, to maybe have a little bit of a chat about that part of our sim racing side of the world here? Money doesn't seem to be something that is aware to everyone out there who races in your general iRacing leads in the supercar. I know that there are teams, like you just said, where money is a factor. Definitely the more competitive teams on the grid would probably experience more of that particular side of the esport. There's plenty of grassroots teams out there that would have no idea what we're talking about when we're talking about money, but I'm interested personally in it.
The financial side of sim racing.
Yeah, and specifically for our community too, because coming from just someone, for example, who just goes out, gets a G27 or G29 wheel, jumps on iRacing, just has a crack, to then a team who's paying drivers to be part of the team and then offering them something that's akin to some type of salary or bonus package financially. There's a big gap there, and I wonder if you maybe could shed some light on that in the future. I would love to have a bit of a chat about that, so some of the people out there could get a little bit enlightened about it too.
Yeah, I think in the next little while we'll probably see things happening. There's a lot going on behind the scenes in regards to that sort of thing. So hopefully there'll be some announcements throughout the year and heading on towards the end of the year for 2020 on some big deals and big things happening in the community, and not only in our community but the worldwide sim racing community involving money and things like that. It's some big things and big people behind the scenes looking to get involved, which is always good to have. So that's why I think it's very, very important that we get this stuff right now before it's way too late. And just like on that, I know that there is a team in the Oz and Z community that have had these issues around copyrighted content. So to say that it doesn't happen here, there is a team that is out there on the grid in V8 Scops that have in the past put logos on the car without permission, got a cease and desist for it. So it does happen, it has happened, and it will continue to happen. It will happen less if we get on top of it beforehand and do the right thing.
Yeah, so you're getting on top of it now, and that's really, really good news, right? And I just want to kind of jump into, put on a different hat here and delve into what some people might be thinking when we're talking about this kind of stuff. If we talk about the iRacing paint policy, right, and playing devil's advocate, someone's out there, a team's out there, group, whatever. Oh, okay, so this has been in place for a while, and all of a sudden Simspeed want us to give all this written permission. That's a bit steep or whatever. Like, we haven't had to do this in the past. We can just go to Trading Paints and grab any livery we want, worldwide, stick it on the car and drive around. Obviously, we just covered the answer to that you're a broadcasting registered business now, and you can't. It's really being taken seriously. But the reason that might give some people out there some impetus to follow suit with this and not go against the grain, to go with it. There's no downside. It's a little bit of a hassle getting the written permission for sure, but I'm not sure if everyone is really into this, but I can't, if you're listening, guys, jump on board with the fact that this thing's growing. It's a bit of a moving vehicle that's gaining momentum to a place, like you just said, Jay, that maybe in the next couple of years, you're looking at worldwide 300K for the different series around the world. we've got a massive opportunity to do something real similar and even grow it past that, I'd say too, with what we have here in this community. And it's about getting these things right now, not just because someone at Simspeed's being narky to get, some paperwork done. It's because you guys have really got a vision to do this for the community, the brand, and the race series to make it the best race series in the world. Would that all be right?
Yeah, 100%. It's not just us as well. So it's us along with GSRC, RaceSpot, LSR TV, Apex TV, UK, PRT, PTR TV, I should say. So all of us involved in the iRacing Esports Network are all doing it. We're implementing it for all of ours. We think it should be just be a standard straight across the board. Other broadcasters are doing it in other ways from what we're doing it. So different broadcasters are doing it in different ways, but essentially every broadcast on the iRacing Esports Network has the same policy. There's no if, buts, maybes. It's 100% straight down the line. If you don't have written permission, you can't do it. So it's good in that aspect that there's no grey. It's black and white. So I think from that aspect, it's really good. But as you said, going forward, sim racing as a whole, we've got so much scope to grow. Like we're at a very, very young age in regards to a sport. This year we've gone from $150,000 to $300,000 in prize money for World Championships. What could that go to next year or the year after? You never know. So getting on top of all of these things now is so crucial, and I think next year we're going to see some really huge things for sim racing.
So effectively what you're saying is it's the growth of the sport, the platform that has led to this, and I can completely understand that based on those numbers. I know that the Simspeed numbers, obviously, Simspeed's doing very well in the last 12 months compared to the previous 12 months, which was also a good year. So there's definitely been growth across all the series, across all platforms. I'm assuming RaceSpot have probably seen fairly good growth as well. And that leads to it. When something gets bigger and more popular, it leads to a little bit more rules. And you see that in any sport out there as well. And you see salary caps in a lot of sports these days. It's a similar sort of thing. It's a big change. It takes a little bit to get to adapt to. But yeah, look, I think it's possible. I think it's a positive thing moving into the future.
Well, even on other sports too. You say, for example, cricket at the moment, they're sponsored by Gatorade. You never see any of the players out there with a Powerade bottle because they're sponsored by one company. You can't have a different conflicting company. So they've got a written agreement with one company. They can only use that company's logos. It's the same concept. Can't be seen having one player out there using a different energy drink brand or a different sports drink brand or a different cricket bat brand. See them all with stickers on their pads because they're running different labeled pads, but they're covering up the logos, things like that. It's all the same concept at the end of the day. You just have to only run what you have permission to run, and every professional sport out there does the exact same thing. Just we're trying to make it as professional as we can without it being professional at this stage, but we know that it's coming in the future.
Do you think, and this is a bit of a controversial question, I suppose, do you think that that you've received obviously a lot of feedback about this? Do you think that this will drive some people away from the series or from the platform at all?
I don't think so. Considering it's only in regards to broadcast stuff, so in regards to what everyone sees personally, they can still run trading paints in the background and run their own stuff. So I don't think it impacts anyone negatively. If you don't have a livery that can make it on the broadcast, you don't have to have a livery that comes on the broadcast. You can just make it plain white or just run the normal in-sim liveries, which we've seen many people do throughout all of the years. Mario Vlasic for the last four or 5 years has just run a standard plain red iRacing car without a livery on trading paints. It doesn't matter. It's just what he runs and you know who he is. So it's just going to take a little bit of getting used to, but I don't think it'll negatively impact it in regards to participation and things like that. And if it does, I think people are racing for the wrong reason.
Yeah, and I must say as well, like you look at other series out there, major series, for example, there's a whole bunch of different series out there which require you to register the series. I think that's probably the biggest thing is the registration sort of process. It's definitely one of the biggest things on top of the written permissions. Is that you have to register and you have to upload your paints and all that kind of stuff. We've been doing that for a long time. It's just been in a different format, yeah?
Well, done it how long ago at Trading Paints? You had to register your account, wait for the stuff to come through, and then upload all your paints. It's just the same thing over again. This is exactly the same concept as what we've had with Trading Paints for the last 8 or 9 years since Trading Paints has been around, and the fact that we're implementing it and we'll also include a results hub and things like that in the future as well, which we're investing quite a lot of money into in the background, will really help showcase it and make it a really quality thing. We know it hasn't been the easiest implementation and we've had some issues in the background, but once everything's all set up and in the future, it's going to be really, really cool what we've got planned for the website and for all of that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, cool. A lot to look forward to this season. We've just heard. I'm just going to go off subject a little bit. I want to get your opinion of this. We've just heard that Jarrad, Filsel, Luke Harvey, and Jake Burton have just left TTR. Or I'm not sure what happened there, but mate, what do you think this season's going to be like? Do you reckon the TTR domination is over?
No, I don't think so. I think they're still going to be the form team. They had 4 out of the top 5 in the championship last season, so I don't think the domination's over as such. Just think that it might mean that we might see some other coloured cars up towards the pointy end as well throughout the season. I think it's adds a little bit of extra excitement. We might see some different names up towards the front. And you've got a lot of new drivers at TTL. They've picked up and recruited very well. ERT's also recruited very well. This opens the door for more different drivers to come into TTR as well. And then wherever those other 3 guys end up going to, is going to really mix up the field as well. So I think it's going to shape up to be a really exciting season, regardless of who dominates or if a team dominates. The fact that we might see a little bit of a mixed up field is going to be pretty exciting.
So on that, Jay, very serious question. How much would you give me odds that Chris Kessie will win a race this year in Top Splits Cops? How much we taking? 1,000 to 1?
I was going to say probably 1,000 to 1. It's going to have to be a fair bit of...
Pretty... Maybe Watkins, Glenn, if I just start from the pits. And
yes, you start from the pits. Everyone will crash at the S's.
Hold on, there's one issue with that. It's first round, yeah?
No,
so
one issue is Watkins Glen even in the schedule?
Ooh, it could be a Bell.
Maybe I'm getting mixed up.
Yeah, it's all right. We haven't released the full schedule yet. So
okay, all right, my bad. I was thinking, look, it's going to be a 1 in a million chance, if anything.
Yeah, well, I think 1 in 1,000 is probably pretty good odds.
Yeah,
probably selling you a bit short.
Yeah, you never know, mate. Chris, you got pretty good, pretty nifty in that V8 supercar, mate. Ever since you had that session with Josh Rogers from the unnamed driver school,
that was a secret.
It's not VRS. But then again, VRS is not our title sponsor, so
in saying that, he is actually now with VRS. He actually is doing coaching packs and that now that he's at Coanda Simsport. So Josh Rogers is doing VRS data packs now.
Oh, get back involved then. Before we go, we do have a couple of questions I do want to get through with.
Go for it.
So this is from this is a public post from Dan Coxon. So as a logo example, why and what is the difference between broadcasting the Penske truck rental logo at Belle Isle and having it on the car? It's in the sim, therefore I assume acceptable in the broadcast.
No, it's not. So that would have been signed as an agreement with the Belle Isle circuit for the real location of that billboard. And effectively your car is your own personal billboard that is moving around the circuit. So any logos on that need to be approved for your use. So no, it would not be approved. So, basically you have to have approval for what is on your personal billboard that is driving around the track.
Also mentioned in the same questions that the Super Cheap logo is at Bathurst, but that has been, you can't go to Bathurst, the real-life Bathurst circuit, without seeing 100 Super Cheap Auto logos all over the place. So,
and one on the start line as well, painted on the ground.
Yeah, it's interesting that that particular point seemed to be glossed over quite widely when I've heard the conversation and read the comments on the conversation at hand about the paint topic. Just that the fact that, or to perceive it this way, that you've got cars, logos on them, track logo on them, all that kind of stuff. You got to just ask who owns what, and iRacing, I guess, owns the track. They own the cars and everything, but if you get in the car and start driving the car, and that becomes your car on a broadcast, it's a different story, because then like if someone says, "Oh, I've got a relationship with this company," and I've asked them and to put the logo on the car, then that covers that sense. So let's say iRacing owns the track and all the logos there. They've made that happen. That's fine. The person has the car and they've asked their mate to put a logo on, and that's fine too. But then this is the crucial factor that it then goes on to a broadcast which you own, Jay, and you and Fonty own this. That's where the line gets drawn, and that's the difference between just asking a mate, "Oh, can I put your logo on my car?" "Yeah, sure, buddy, fine." Because it goes into a different realm when it starts being broadcast on YouTube and all the different places. So then everything becomes your property and you become responsible for it. So
at the end of the day, if someone sues in regards to logos on a broadcast, the person that would lose their house if we were to get sued and we lost would be me. So that's where it comes down to. So that's why we're being very, very strict about the whole policy. Is if something does happen, the people responsible are us at Simspeed.
So it's more like it's so I suppose directed at the broadcasting side of things. I'm sure there'll still be people slapping the trading paints latest Shane Van Gisbergen livery on their car, yeah,
of course,
on a regular basis. But that is on that's on them or on iRacing. Do you know how that would sort of work?
So if those logo, like we've gone through the skins, we go through the skins every day before we broadcast, and we basically just don't add those skins that aren't approved or have logos that can't be used to those packs. So we've had quite a few Red Bull helmets that have been uploaded, and Monster Energy helmets, and Ken Block inspired liveries, and all things like that. They just won't appear on the broadcast. There's no way that they will be approved. So we just remove them, and it can't be shown. Full stop.
Well, on the conversation of helmet liveries, there was another question that caught my eye from one of the other co-hosts in the show, Bo Albert. I'm not sure whether you saw it, Jay, but
yes, I did see this one.
Do I need written consent to put Fonty's face on my helmet visor?
I don't believe Fonty's face is trademarked. I'm going to guess it's public domain, so I guess you could if you really wanted to, but I'd say it would at the same point. I suppose it could be considered offensive. I mean, have you seen that face?
Hey, Chris, why don't we trademark Fonty's face to the Flatchat?
Oh, that'd be...
We can
you really wouldn't want that. That would be of no value to anyone.
I think we're all in the same boat there. Yeah. I was trademarking any of our faces.
Well, okay, I think we might have reached the end there. JC, have you got anything else to cover off in regards to
mate. No, deliveries? Not really. I just hope that we didn't sound as a Flat Chat podcast. We do. I just like transparency, mate. I'm just putting that statement out there. Transparency is great. There's nothing to hide in this community. We're not this is not a capitalist, crazy environment. It's just a bit of fun that's now turning into something that is beginning to get more professional, I guess, and it's going to grow and expand like anything does. And it's nice to know that you guys at Simspeed, Jay, are looking out for everyone, even though sometimes it gets taken to just, I don't know, trolling or something, but it's not.
Why you're doing this is just a joke. It's just a joke. You can't tell me what I can do.
Wow. Well,
there's nothing wrong with that attitude. If you want to do your own thing, do your own thing.
You can do your own thing. That's fine.
Exactly. But this is a broadcast that you guys have put a lot of time and energy into.
Yeah.
And, mate, we back you guys 100%. But we also do like to stand on our own 2 feet. And if there's any questions or any hard questions need to be asked, we would like to be there for that. But in this particular instance, I think that we can see it pretty clearly because we talked to you and it seems all legit from this point of view. So I hope that message got across to the listeners.
If you guys do have any further questions, make sure you send them to the Flat Chat podcast and we'll endeavour to find out the answers to your questions. We got no dramas, taking on some of the load from Jay.
I do get quite a lot of messages too, so
So show some respect and send it to the Flat Chat podcast.
I would appreciate the not too silly questions about, can I just run this logo because so and so is running this logo? If you don't have permission, you can't do it. Full stop. There's no ifs, buts, maybes. It's very, very black and white. The rules are not grey at all. It is 100% black and white. You need permission. It has to have your name or team name on it. If it doesn't, you can't use it. Simple.
One question I will ask that probably will come up And people use the Simspeed logo.
Yes, all of the broadcasters have agreed to release their logos for use. So yeah, you can use our logo. It has been posted a couple of times in our Discord, and we'll post it again up there as well for everyone to use. So we encourage people to use our logo. If you need to fill a logo, got a spot on your car that looks like it needs something, feel free to grab ours. We're more than happy for you to have our logo on the car.
Same here, I guess, too. If anyone wants to use the Flatchat, you two people out there who'd like to use it, that'd be fantastic.
There
you
are
can
actually
even vandalise it. We don't mind.
there are a few sim racing companies out there that have put blanket approvals out there. I know JRT is one that we do love to use. We love JRT, and Joel has put out there that yes, his logo can be used on skins without getting permission. So he's put that out there as effectively public domain. So there's another little filler logo that you can put on. So there are people out there that are more than happy to have your logo. Just send them a message. It's not hard. And one thing that could come from it is a company that you message and ask to have a logo on the car. They could even sponsor you and pay you for it down the line. So build that relationship with the company. Don't be scared to ask. The worst they can say is no.
Fantastic. Well, so Jay, I mean, the season's coming up very soon. How long have we got until Scop's registration comes out, and when does the season start?
Season starts in 5 weeks' time from memory, and registration will be open very, very soon. We will have registration running through the website, which will then also enable you to select your car number and all that sort of stuff as well. We'll all then link up to the paint section as well, so you can do all of that together. And keep your team details all registered through that as well. And then it will also have all the points and all of that through that as well. Then from there, we'll also be able to grab details out of the website and add them into the broadcast as well. So that should be pretty cool too.
So that particular part of the site, Brett Cananzi did ask that he couldn't get his liveries he couldn't get into the site.
Yep.
I know that Fonty was just on before you, and he was saying that should be up and running. So, Chris, did you say you checked today? Is that up and running now?
It's still working on it.
Okay,
we'll get it fixed. We'll get it fixed.
There have been some people that have been having issues. Don't be afraid to shoot us a message on Discord if you are having issues. 99% of people are having no issues. We were being DDoS the other day, so we had to invest in some more stuff in the background. We spent a lot of money on this, so it's not going anywhere. So we'll make sure we work on it and get it right. But send us a message if you are having issues, and we'll work something out.
Fantastic. Well, Jay, mate, thank you very much for joining us. I know it was a bit of a touchy subject for some, definitely some of the listeners out there. So, mate, thanks heaps for joining us.
Yeah, no problems at all, guys. It's going to be a really good year for sim racing, a real good year for Australia and New Zealand sim racing.
Fantastic. All right. Well, JC, I think we're done for the day, mate. You better start getting that ending ready.
I will get the ending ready, and if I survive the heat wave that we're going through, that'll be
mate,
nice.
It's 40 degrees in here, isn't it?
I opened up a paddle pop, and it's now a chocolate milkshake. Like 2 minutes ago.
Fantastic. Well, if you want to contact us, just hit up the Flatchat podcast on Facebook, or you can see us on simspeed.tv and just click on the entertainment tab.